It's not easy, though the instructors make it look simple with all the tricks they can do on the boards. Hopefully you remember to grab your towel from the ship. You'll definitely need it after the flow rider. Grand Turk also offers shopping, dining options, and relaxing beaches. Dick and Pat ventured off on their own to explore the island's local churches and historic sites. Grand Turk can also be found in the history books as one of the first sites of landfall for an American spacecraft. On February 20th, 1962, Lieutenant Colonel John Glenn and his spacecraft Friendship 7 landed in the Atlantic Ocean after being the first to orbit the Earth. A replica of the craft is displayed on the island because it was the first site of landfall. Don't miss the opportunity to be part of space history. What an amazing day in Grand Turk. Now it's time to head back to the ship for some more family fun. On February 20th, 1962, Lieutenant Colonel John Glenn Friendship 7 landed in the Atlantic Ocean after being the first to Cruises offer spa services, including manicures, pedicures, massages, and many other relaxing treatments. Salon and spa treatments also carry an additional fee. Amazing day in Grand Turk. It's time to shop for the day having fun. On February 20th, 1960, with all the tempting treats on board a cruise ship, it can be easy to gain a few pounds during a week at sea. Thankfully, many cruise ships offer a variety of exercise options for the whole family. The cruise offers a sky signal for all ages to test your don't miss the opportunity to be part. Most athletic activities on board are free. So something amazing day in Grand Turk. It's time to head back to the ship for some more family fun. On February 20th, 1992, the key to any successful family vacation is planning. Each family member has different expectations and options to make diversions and don't miss the opportunity. So much to come back. I know I'm preparing to leave. It's an amazing day. It's time to head back to the ship for some more family fun. As a cruise February 20th, 1992, don't miss the opportunity to be short of some amazing day. It's time to head back to the ship.
Looks like it's around 5:20. We're going to start tonight with the Public Works Committee, and the first thing we're going to hear is Ordinance G-2015-19 amended, and it's the amending the animal control of the Evansville Municipal Code 6.05. And do we have a speaker on this? Well, Kendall, you going to talk on this? Okay, that's fine. Absolutely. Come forward, please. Great.
Basically, this is...
Looks like it's around 5:20. We're going to start tonight with the Public Works Committee.
It's humane.
And the first thing we're going to hear is Ordinance G-2015-19
sterile
amended.
males out into the population.
And it's the amending the animal control.
Cats are going to start on with the City Council next.
6.05.
That's what I've been told. I don't know.
I second that. My clinic will not be able to handle that.
Maybe just a rumor. Well,
Hello, my name is Kendall Paul, and I'm the Executive Director of the Vanderburg Humane Society,
Absolutely.
and I'm also the President of EPAW, Evansville Partnership for Animal Welfare, which is an alliance that is made up of Vanderburg Humane Society, It Takes a Village, Another Chance for Animals, representatives from Evansville Animal Care and Control, the Evansville Police Department, as well as local veterinarians. It's an alliance that has come together to try to work on some issues that we can all agree on, and so that you know that when I'm speaking on behalf of EPAW, my clinic will not be able to handle that. Are being represented. I won't take up much of your time tonight. I've already presented to you. My name is Kendall Paul. I'm the Executive Director of the Vanderburg Humane Society, and I'm also the President of EPAW, Evansville Partnership for Animal Welfare, which is an alliance that is made up right now of Vanderburg Humane Society, It Takes a Village, Another Chance for Animals, in our facility, representatives from Evansville Animal Care and Control, and the Another Chance for Animals have another, as well as local veterinarians. Between the alliance that is together to try to work on some issues that we can all agree on. And so that you know that my clinic will not be able to handle areas, but certainly I won't take up much of your time tonight. Hello, my name is Kendall Paul. I'm the Executive Director of the Vanderburg Humane Society, and I'm also the President of EPAW, Evansville Partnership for Animal Welfare, which is an alliance that is made up right now of Vanderburg Humane Society. It Takes a Village, Another Chance for Animals, in our facility, representatives from Evansville Animal Care and Control, and the Another Chance for Animals have another, as well as local veterinarians. Between the alliance that they together to try to work on some issues that we can all agree on, and so that you know that my clinic will not be able to handle that. We've talked about before, but certainly I would take up much of your time. Hello, my name is Kendall Paul, and I'm the Executive Director of the Vanderburg Humane Society, and I'm also President of EPAW, Evansville Partnership for Animal Welfare, which is an alliance that Evansville Animal Care and Control allows the Another Chance for Animals to have another, as well as local veterinarians. Veterinarians have to try to work on some issues and all agree on. My clinic will not be able to handle that. But certainly, I would take up much of your time. My name is Kendall Paul, and I'm the Executive Director of the Vanderburg Society, and I'm also President of EPAW, Evansville Partnership for Animal Welfare, which is an alliance that Evansville Animal Care and Control allows the Another Chance for Animals to have allowed, as well as local veterinarians. Veterinarians have to get a non-national and all agree on that. My clinic will not be able to handle that. But certainly, I would take up much of your time. My name is Kendall Paul, and I'm the Executive Director of the Vanderburg Society, and I'm also President of EPAW, Evansville Partnership for Animal Welfare, which is an alliance that Evansville Animal Care and Control allows the Another Chance for Animals to have allowed a solution to any of these problems, but it is a piece of the puzzle. We have met with Wesselman Woods Nature Preserve as well as the Mesquite Park Zoo and discussed this plan with them. Both of those organizations indicated they would not object to this amendment, which we were very pleased about. We are very committed at EPAW also to educate the public, talking to them about the need to keep their cats as indoor cats, if they are owned cats, if they are pet cats, because of the impacts that they can have on the environment. We also care about the environment. We also care about nuisance problems. Fixing these animals that are outdoors will also dramatically decrease their nuisance behaviors. Things like spraying, things like wandering for miles to find a mate. A lot of those things are going to be corrected if those animals are spayed and neutered. Again, it's not the only solution to this problem, but it is a step in the right direction. We certainly appreciate you listening to us tonight and taking a look at this issue. Any questions? Yes, Ms.
Anybody on council?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Kendall, thank you, and to you and your group for all you've done to work on this. I went to a couple of your information sessions, and I think you had said that there also are some grants that once this ordinance, if we get it changed, that we can possibly, the group can look into to possibly help with some of this?
That certainly, that is certainly something that does improve for the nonprofit groups in the community. If we have something that is a part of our ordinance where these cats are protected, a spayed cat, a neutered cat that is outdoors becomes a community cat. That means that we can then try to get grant funding so that we can try to do more of these cats. Most grantors are not going to give agencies funding to do this in the public or in the community if those cats don't have some sort of protection. Sure. Because they would feel like if they were giving you that amount of money to fix all those cats, then all those cats could be still rounded up and taken in and be euthanized. By making those cats become a community cat, it allows us to work, with those groups and hopefully get some additional funding so that the nonprofits can add to and help with this solution without having to always ask for city money.
Thank you. Thank you for your hard work on this.
No problem. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Would you remind us, again, how much money will be saved by going from the present trap, kill, and incinerate program to the one you're suggesting?
Well, certainly,
Wasn't there something like $140,000 or $160,000?
That certainly is what's been known in other communities. There have been other communities that have had that happen, and their local animal control saw a great savings like that. Mm-hmm. We hope that we will definitely see some savings, not only within the nonprofit organizations that also participate in euthanasia, but also the city, because they're not having to make those runs or trap as many of those cats or euthanize those cats, because, of course, that is an expensive process as well.
Anyone else on the council? Does anyone in the audience want to speak for or against this?
How many people are here in favor of this, just out of curiosity?
I would hope all of them.
Why don't you stand up? Would you stand up, please? Wow. Okay, sit down, please.
Okay, Randy.
Thank you all very much.
All right.
Except for Officer Brown.
Thank you, Kendall.
Randy Jones, 915 Oak Hill Road. I think this is fantastic. I live next to a cemetery. I now have 5 cats that my daughter has had me catch. She has a warm bed in the summertime. We have it heated in the back of the house, warm water. What I would like to just add one more thing to this, if we could, if they do catch a cat that's already been neutered and already been fixed, which, like I said, I have 5 of them right now that shows up to my back door whining every morning for their food. And they're not my cats. They just showed up. I would like to have the fact that those cats can be maybe clipped and returned back instead of taken to the pound. Because that's something I've always worried about, whether somebody would come and pick those cats up and euthanize them after we've done, had them fixed. Because every cat that comes to the back door, she pretty well has me trapped and fixed. So or we could have where they could be clipped, maybe a person could have the ear clipped to show that. I think that would be great if we could just add that little bit to it.
I would think if we do pass this that you would be able to, get them ear clips so that...
Okay. Well, I didn't know if they would do that or we take it to the vet or what we would do.
That's something we would look into.
But I think that's fantastic. Like I said, if it's a cat, it comes. We had a mother cat that was having a litter, and there was at least 30 cats in the neighborhood, and we finally caught her, and she's no more having kittens.
Okay, anyone else? All right.
Hi. I moved into...
State your name.
My name is Jeannie Cole.
And your address.
Live on the north side of Evansville. 2008, we purchased our house on Tulip Avenue. And, of course, by 2009, we had a few cats. I didn't know nothing. A few cats turned into probably 25. It was a learning process for me. Read a lot online. Got a lot of them fixed. Some of them went off and died. A couple got struck by cars. That's part of the process of this. But I've spent a total thousands of dollars doing this because I love the cats. I feed them, provide shelter, whatever I can do for them, medical care when I can. I'd like to see this pass in the respect that for all I've done, believe it or not, I'm down to 5. Nature took its course. Some of them decided to move in, because sometimes feral cats can become very nice. But when you do all this, you'd like some for, protection. I went to Alley Cat Alleys, gave information to all my neighbors about this, what I was doing. Everybody was on board, never had a problem. People think it's great. Also that, I've kept many cats out of my neighborhood because I have these feral cats. They don't let anybody else in. So I'd like to see it pass. Like I said, a lot of time, a lot of love, a lot of money, and I'd like for them to be protected. Not that somebody can take them, have them put to sleep. I'd like to say my cats. If you pass this, I can finally say, yes, these are my cats. So just letting you guys know, it does work. I've been doing it for 6 years now. A lot of places are, so I'd appreciate if we can get a yes on this. It would sure help.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else? All right, I'd like a motion to accept.
So moved.
All right, I'm first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? 8-0, passes, okay. All right, we'll move on now. All right. That was popular.
Al, do we need to, I think we need to do the...
Was that amended?
amendment
Oh, I'm
first.
sorry.
I think we do the amendment.
It was
then-
actually
Okay.
accepted on the
Was
7/13
that?
meeting.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Connor. All right, we'll move on now. We've got Ordinance G-2015-21. It's to vacate certain platted easements within the property bounded by Diamond Avenue to the south, First Avenue to the east, Colorado Avenue extended to the north, and North Third Avenue extended to the west with common address of 2500 North First Avenue. Speaker on this? Mr. Calderon, thank you.
Thank you and good evening, councilors. My name is Joe Calderon. I'm an attorney in Indianapolis with an address of 111 Monument Circle, Suite 2700. I represent Walmart Real Estate Business Trust in connection with its redevelopment of the northwest corner of First and Diamond to include a new Walmart neighborhood market grocery store, which has really gone through all of the entitlement process in the course of doing final engineering and locating the detention area and some of the stormwater infrastructure. It was determined by the engineering group that some old platted easements were technically still of record. What you have seen in our petition is that none of the agencies, none of the utility companies have any real infrastructure left. So we filed a petition to vacate or privatize or get rid of those. I do have an exhibit which will indicate kind of the area in question that I'll hand out to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
The petition that we filed had kind of a exhibit indicating the area of the easements which ran along old platted streets. This exhibit kind of shows the interference of those old platted easements with the proposed development. The blue outline on the exhibit is the actual building itself. The red indicates the location of the detention area as well as stormwater infrastructure. The green are in fact the areas that we propose to be vacated. So you can see there's a conflict between those old platted areas and the proposed new infrastructure. So given that what you look at is a public interest test, we think that redevelopment of this corner meets that test. Again, there is absolutely no objection by any of the utility companies or city agencies. All the utility companies that will be serving the site will have their own newly set of dedicated easements, so this will help facilitate redevelopment of an important corner in the city. Thank you.
Any questions from council? You know the area that we're talking about, right? Okay. Anybody for or against this from the audience? Okay, I'd like a motion to accept.
Second.
All righty, thank you. All in favor? All opposed? All right, it comes with the due pass. With that, I close the Public Works Committee.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Let's see, I think we had...
Honorable Council of the City of Evansville will hereby be called to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman McGinn?
Here.
Councilwoman Mosby?
Here.
Councilwoman Brinkerhoff-Riley?
Aye.
Councilwoman Robinson? Councilman Friend?
Here.
Councilman Lindsay?
Here.
Councilman O'Daniel?
Here.
Councilman Weaver?
Here.
Councilman Adams?
Here, there being 8 members present, 1 member absent, and that being representing a quorum, I here declare this session of the Common Council officially opened. Conrad O'Daniel, would you please, Councilman O'Daniel, please, the pledge for me?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Fellow councilmen and those in the audience, welcome to the July 27th, 2015 meeting, the 14th meeting of this year. Council attorney is the effervescent Scott Banks. Sergeant Adams is the stalwart officer of FIFI, colleague, friend, and so. Is there a motion to approve the minutes in July 13th for the Common Council? There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? So be it.
Reports and communications. In your July 23rd packet, City Council meeting agenda and committee meeting schedule for July 27th, 2015. Ordinances G 2015-20, R 2015-9 amended, filed 7/17/2015, and R 2015-9 amended, filed 7/14/2015. Ordinance R 2015-22 and R 2015-23. Weights and Measures Monthly Report from June to July 2015. Emailed material, City Council meeting minutes for July 13th, 2015. Letter from Karen Biltman regarding the North Main project. On your desk this evening, extended agenda, letter from Mike Zipweimer, and occupancy report from Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Is there a motion to receive, file, and make these reports and communications part of the minutes of the meeting?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? So moved.
Consent agenda, first reading of ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance G 2015-20, an ordinance to amend the fluoridization standards for the city water supply in the city of Evansville, Indiana. Ordinance F 2015-11, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Evansville authorizing transfers of appropriations, additional appropriations, and repeal and reappropriations of funds for various city funds.
I want to remind the public that this is an amendment of the fluoridation standards. We already have fluoride in our water, and I just want people to understand that. This is not a new chemical that we're putting in. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda as written?
So moved.
Second? Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? So moved.
Consent agenda, second reading of ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance G 2015-20, G 2015-19 amended. An ordinance amending Chapter 6.05, Animal Control of the Evansville Municipal Code. Ordinance G 2015-21, an ordinance to vacate certain platted easements within property bounded by Diamond Avenue to the south, First Avenue to the east, Colorado Avenue extended to the north, and North 3rd Avenue extended to the west, with common address of 2500 North First Avenue, Evansville, Indiana.
Public Works Report, Chairman Lindsay.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Regular agenda, third reading of ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance G 2015-19 amended, an ordinance amending Chapter 6.05, Animal Control of the Evansville Municipal Code.
Is there a motion to adopt ordinance G 2015-19 as amended?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilman McGinn?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mosby?
I think this is a great start to help the overpopulation of cats. Therefore, I vote aye.
Councilwoman Brinkerhoff-Riley?
Aye.
Councilman Friends?
Aye.
Councilman Lindsay.
Aye.
Councilman O'Daniel.
Aye.
Councilman Weaver.
Aye.
Councilman Adams.
I'd like to thank everybody that was really worked hard on this one, and I wasn't quite sure why there would be any resistance out at the zoo. I thought the wolves would take care of the indigent population pretty easily. Is there a motion? Is there a motion to adopt Ordinance G 2014-19 as amended?
Can you just vote on it?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Let's vote. I'll vote, and we therefore will have that done. Thank you. Stay with me, folks. We got a long night here, and I'm already thinking about it. Third reading.
Ordinance G 2015-21, an ordinance to vacate certain platted easements within the property bounded by Diamond Avenue to the south, First Avenue to the east, Colorado Avenue extended to the north, and North 3rd Avenue extended to the west, with a common address of 2500 North First Avenue, Evansville, Indiana.
Is there a motion to adopt Ordinance G 2015-21?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilman McGinn.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mosley.
Aye.
Councilwoman Brinkerhoff-Riley.
Aye.
Councilman Friends.
Aye.
Councilman Lindsay.
Aye.
Councilman O'Daniel.
Aye.
Councilman Weaver.
Aye.
Councilman Adams.
Aye. We have 8 ayes and 0 nays. Ordinance G 2015-21 is hereby adopted. Miscellaneous business. The next meeting of the Common Council is Monday, August 10th at 5:30. At this point, committee meetings will begin at 5:20, but we may have a couple of more additions to our council meeting. At this juncture, we're going to start. We have at least 4 things to discuss tonight. We're going to start. If we could quiet it down outside, please, I'd appreciate it. We're going to first hear now about Echo Housing Corporation's Jacobs Join-In Initiative presentation. Can I have one too? Oh, yeah.
And actually give their piece for each of the work groups that we're working here in the neighborhood. So if I could have you guys go ahead and step up. But I'll provide just a little bit of background just in case we need a refresher on the neighborhood of Jacobsville and what we're doing. And I want to first thank Councilman Adams for inviting us here today to give some updates about the progress of the quality of life process that we're doing in Jacobsville. So Jacobsville is about roughly 1.5 square miles. It encompasses Claymire and Garvin Park, sits between Garvin Street and First Avenue, Diamond Avenue, and Division, and has roughly 7,000 residents that live in the neighborhood and approximately 8,000 jobs in Jacobsville. This is just some basic background information on community development, and I really just wanted to point out the core values of the community development that we're doing in Jacobsville is that it's really a grassroots, resident-led type of process, and that we utilize everyone's gifts, be it their knowledge, their skills, or even just their passion for the neighborhood and wanting to improve it. This is the Jacobsville vision, and whenever we came together as a large group and had our visioning workshop, this is what the neighborhood said that they want to be. They want to be a cool, hip, vibrant place. They want to have strong relationships within their neighborhood, including their own families. They want to have vibrant retail spaces, restaurants, and attractive public spaces. Some of the early collective impact that we've had in Jacobsville, we do what we call early action projects, and that's to keep the community engaged in this process while we're waiting for the bigger projects to come to fruition. So we've established an early action grant process. We've already given over $10,000 in small neighborhood improvement projects in Jacobsville over the past couple of years, and we're getting ready to do a third round of 5,000, and we'll have that information out probably in August to the community as to the recipients for those projects. Some other things that we've done are the 2 cent campaign, and that's where initially we were asking people figuratively for their 2 cents about their neighborhood, so why not ask them literally for 2 cents to show that they are really buying into this process. Our goal was to collect $304, and that was based off of the number of people that live there and work there. We actually raised $550 just within 30 days. Next, I'm going to have Stephanie Timbarge with Echo Housing Corporation come up. She's part of the housing work group, and she's going to give some information about what they're doing in the neighborhood.
Thank you, Jennifer, and thank you to all of you, Council, for hearing what we have going on in Jacobsville. It's pretty darn exciting to see the amount of collaboration and resident stakeholder involvement that's come together to make all of this happen. I'm here to report on the housing component, which we identified as one of the top priority goals of the Quality of Life Plan. And not just to address the housing, but first we had to collect the data to find out where we were, assess the existing housing stock, and find out what the need would be, whether we needed new home ownership, rehabbing houses, rental units, and so forth. So you can see the goals listed in front of you. The first one, to collect the data, has been done. And if you go to the second page, you'll find some very interesting statistics that came out of this. I think the perception, what did I do? Oh. I didn't advance it. Too much technology for me.
You're doing great.
There we go.
Oh, did I hit it? Okay, sorry. Okay. Contrary to what people believe, the percentage of absentee and out-of-city and out-of-state landlords is pretty small in Jacobsville. Of the 808 rental properties, 101 are actually owned by actual Jacobsville residents or businesses. And 75% of all rental property is owned by people or businesses residing in Evansville. So we do have a personal investment and a personal involvement in the neighborhood that kind of goes against, I think, what everyone perceives is that a lot of our landlords are absentee and don't care. So we can reach out and make a difference, I believe. And then if you look up here in the pie charts, you'll see the vacant housing units versus the occupied. It's not great, and obviously that's why the housing work group is working on that. The home ownership is low as well. So that's another goal of ours, is to increase, convert some rentals maybe to home ownership, or to get increased home ownership, maybe by building stock, or trying to make some monies available to people to try and purchase their homes. But less than 1%, and I think this is an interesting statistic, are owned by the government, which means city or federal, or by NPO is nonprofit. So it's not a high percentage of nonprofit involvement compared to citywide and resident-wide stakeholders. So I'm going to talk a little bit, and this is not just about ECHO, but the first few slides. The Housing Work Group is a collaborative effort of much more than ECHO. Am I supposed to be advancing this? That's why I pay her the big bucks to help me out here. But at any rate, we have several projects in the pipeline to give you a feel for this transformational impact that could be had in Jacobsville. Number one is the Garfield Commons project, which is very much alive and well. As a matter of fact, we're going back in November. It's a 9% tax credit deal. We are stronger than we were because the QAP has changed. It was somewhat prejudicial against urban new construction. It was more for adaptive reuse, and it's moved more our direction. So we feel we have a really, really strong application. That'll be about 50 units. The above slide is where it will be located. It's at the corner of Garfield and Virginia, which is right behind Fred's Bar. The second page, you may or may not be aware of this, ECHO has an option on the Crawford Door building, and this would be an adaptive reuse and new construction. This, the state has encouraged us to do. They're behind us 100%. Basically, all we have to do is just kind of put our ducks in a row, and they want us to do a 4% bond deal on this. So you can sort of see at the bottom, we really don't have a rendering, but this is a very similar building. It's the Fisher, I believe, Fall Creek Candy Company in Indianapolis We have some same architects working on this. Probably will be another 40 or 50 units. The next is the most exciting of all. This is the old flea market building. We are working, hopefully, through some channels to get possession of this property. And if so, think what could happen. The rendering shows you what we could do with a mixed-use commercial development. We have some interest from Bill Bussing, some personal financing and working with us as well. So between what you're looking at, it could be $20 million, $30 million, 100 units of housing and some commercial development, which could increase revenues for the TIF. So again, it could be transformational. But we're not the only ones. Habitat has made it.
That's chic and jowl to the ballpark, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, what he's calling it, he wants a Wrigleyville.
Right.
So that's kind of what just a rendering. It's just, speculation and hope. But again, there are many other providers that are working in the neighborhood. Habitat has gotten several properties from Deaconess Hospital and is currently building, and I think they're probably going to have probably 10 homes in the Jacobsville area. So again, they've made a real commitment to Garfield Commons area. Community One has also targeted Jacobsville and particularly the Garfield area for their renovations. Echo Housing is working with Community One to access federal home loan bank funds for neighborhood assistance program and AMP funds to help homeowner rehabilitation. We've already done one house. They're also looking at purchasing houses that will work together to try and rehab for homeowners. So again, when you look at everybody combined, you're talking a lot of $1 million worth of investment in housing. So I think my work group's pretty excited about what can and will be in our Jacobsville that we foresee in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Heather Ottley. She's going to come up and talk about the infrastructure and parks work group.
Hi, like she said, my name is Heather Ottley. I am the Parks Infrastructure and Parks Committee Chair. I am a resident and a stakeholder in Jacobsville. After the vision, our community came up with some goals, and the goals were designed by residents and stakeholders to make Jacobsville infrastructures and parks safer and more comfortable. The goals also were set up to improve the area with the bullets in the slideshow that you can read on the side. I don't mind just reading verbatim because some of the accomplishments that our group has been working towards is we did a street light survey in the fall of 2014. We identified 4 street lights that were not working, contacted Vectren, and they fixed them right away. We also realized that there's many areas in the Jacobsville area that are very dark. They don't have lighting, so we brought that to Vectren's attention as well. And there's a lot of areas that are covered with trees that need to be cut down. We also identified that Garvin Park shelters, they needed better roofing. So the smaller one that is in the back, it has been fixed. The larger one has not been fixed yet. We're also looking into more streetlights, bus stops, sidewalks, bicycle racks, Pigeon Creek pedestrian bridge, and adding new goals. So, and also the North Main Complete Street.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Next, we'll have Darla Smith, and she's going to talk about the business quarters work group.
Can't do much without these glasses. I'm Darla Daly Smith, and I own Daly's Bakery. I'm a stakeholder, but I also have a residence there. I grew up on 219 East Florida Street. My sister still lives there. I grew up there, and I have a very good memory of what that walking community once was. It was an excitement and a fun time for me growing up there. I lived there until I was a young woman and just moved a short distance away to the north side. And then, of course, back again now. And I decided, since I was there, opened the bakery, that I would like to be part of things. And I realized there was really something going on. There were some visions and some dreams and planning. There wasn't just, I'll point out in a moment what's up here, but there wasn't just talk. We can have hope and faith, but without works, we all know that's just comes to a dead end. We know what that dead-end street looks like. So people were really working, so I joined in, and they asked me, thought that I did have the ability to be on the business corridor. Gee, they have a lot more faith in that area than I did when I started. But some of the things that we did, and we hope for by 2017, is that we are hoping that the North Side Business Association will lead the facilitation for recruitment, retention, sustainability of businesses for the Jacobsville neighborhood to promote healthy business corridors, which is an extremely important thing for North Main Street. I call it uptown. We have downtown, and I call it uptown. By 2017, we hope, all of those there, that we create a brand that will identify Jacobsville, that will celebrate the history of Jacobsville and the uniqueness of that neighborhood, which it really is. There is a lot to be told about that neighborhood. It's not showing as brightly as it will. I'm a person with a glass of water that's half full, not half empty, and I'm a painter, not a pointer. I've said it more than once. I can see things as they see them, and others paint the picture, as we said in these groups, and do some of this work and help finish the picture that I see. Second page, all right. We have a toolbox, of course, that has a data collection in that toolbox, the complete toolbox. And I'll give you, there's 4 points there, but I'll give you an example of what might be in that toolbox. For example, we collected information for possible business opportunities, availabilities, possibilities for people coming in. And you know, we don't think little. We get excited about those pennies that came to 500 and something. Believe me, we're a passionate neighborhood. We get excited about little things, and we never despise small beginnings. So, but we do plan on stepping up, and we keep moving. So we have momentum because we are a group of grassroots people working together. So we are hoping to do this for this wonderful cultural district. We have, as coming in as a new person a few years ago, it's when I'm 4 now, gee, I've realized that and was informed that that has been opened up as the 5th cultural, or one of the 5 cultural districts. And we want to help make it that. It's pretty exciting to us. We want to partnership. We have partnership with Wrights High School and some of their young students there with it's called the Feel of History. Those young students are doing 20 videos for us, what we call walking videos. Yes, we've really done some homework working on, when you say grassroots, it really is. We've done some real neat things and found out some things from different people. We talk to people. That's what communities do when you get in these groups. And you talk and you find out what can be done. So we're working with some of the high school students to do these walking videos, which is going to be wonderful. It will promote the cultural district as it begins to unfold and people can really see and learn about the history of that district. Isn't that exciting? And you know, I always say that the knotty pine is gone, but there is history in that spot before that building went down. And I don't know if many of you read the book and the story, but several, I think a few of them about that thick, on the history of the spy who hid there. And we should all know it because I love history. But anyway, we do have some history, believe me, in that neighborhood. But we want to help promote that. And these kids are doing this. They're very talented. It's going to be a picture-full book, and that's going to be presented, and the videos, it'll help. So as people go along, they're going to be able to know what this was there, what is there, and what's going on. It'll also help with the schools. The Northside Business, and of course I'm very excited about the Northside Business Association. It has been revitalized, and that's an understatement. It has always been there. It's over 100 years old, one of the oldest associations there. And I'm proud to be on that, but it's so much excitement going on that it's revitalized this Northside business. There's always at least 40 people there, 30, 40, 45, and there are many more. At least, I would say, 90 businesses, all told, not always coming but always interested, always saying, what can I do to help? Recently, we want to be part of this neighborhood, so we decided, what can we do? And we decided the best thing we could do for the future is do something for our youth, so we did a barbecue. We got DeLagy's restaurant to help, and he stayed up all night. We met him early in the morning, and that was our part, give him the dirty job. But anyway, working with the barbecue ribs, the money all went to the youth of Jacobsville. So it's not just about us and what we want to see. It's about the future of the young people there. So the Northside Business Association, I'm passionate about, and they have become passionate, all of them wanting to do something. As things are moving on, people become a lot more excited about it. Very interested in all of that neighborhood. And North Main, our fourth point, North Main Gateway established with Jacobsville mural. You all saw the mural. Most people think that is the neatest thing. I've heard a couple of remarks that, oh, it's not finished up there. That is the design of that by a very famous person who designed it for us. But all of Jacobsville stepped in and brought material. They brought hats, they brought shirts. There is people up and down there in businesses that some of the fabric is something their mother sewed, a quilt, or I'll make a joke again, name dropping, Dan DeLagy's Hawaiian t-shirt. Shirt is up there somewhere. Painted it himself. So there was a lot of fun and togetherness when that mural was done. But it's a gateway, it's an opening. And if you notice, downtown is the gateway and the arch. And we now have, of course, thank goodness to a gentleman who spotted it, has always got his eye out. And that arch is over the entrance to Garvin Park, which brings this city together. You know, that's what we call a complete street. And it's tying things together. I might not articulate just exactly the way I really want to. I am grassroots, and I am a baker, I am a mother, I'm a grandmother. But these are important things that community people and grassroots people talk about. It's exciting, the things that begin to happen there. The North Main Complete Street projects, we want the branding for this business. In this pipeline, we want a branding for this business district, marketing, campaign, and neighborhood walking map. And these are all the things I just discussed. This is part of it, and perhaps later on I'll be able to bring you a little bit more business corridor information, but we are working at it from the one end of it by Lloyd Express all the way to Garden Park, by walking, if necessary, parking a car, just walking from one end to the other, seeing what the availability of buildings are, what kind of condition they're in. We don't want to try to encourage someone to come there and then this is all we have to offer and no information. So we found out what can be taken care of, who's doing what, to make it presentable as it comes. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Appreciate you and ladies.
Yeah.
I'm going to fill in for Emily Baxter Parker, who usually does our employment work group. But we do have an employment work group that's been working to find opportunities and reduce barriers for people in the Jacobsville neighborhood regarding employment. Some of the things that they have accomplished so far is hosting a employment and resource fair in the neighborhood at Swerco last year, and it's something that they're excited to try to do again. Whenever they were first looking at some of the data about the neighborhood and employment needs, they identified child care and transportation as two barriers that people living in the neighborhood have to overcome whenever it comes to employment. So one of the things that they did is they partnered with Work One in the Dream Center to bring some education resources to the neighborhood, and people can actually go to the Dream Center now once a week for GED training. And then we also have working to add new work group members as we make connections within the neighborhood and in the community at large. They are bringing in new people, such as Community Marriage Builders, who has programs that evolve around workforce development, and then also some new businesses that are coming into Jacobsville that I'll talk about a little bit later.
Hello. My name is Leanne Pease, and I am a resident of Jacobsville for the last 3 years. I've been involved for the last 4, and I'm also the president of the Jacobsville Neighborhood Improvement Association. And I'm here today to speak with you about the youth and education. I'm currently the chair of the youth and education work group. We have 4 goals, as you can see on your pamphlet and also on the screen for those in the audience. You'll notice that most of these goals is really about building a relationship. The first one in which would be with organizing neighborhood churches, organization, and schools, and creating a pipeline of support for the youth in the neighborhood. Although it says youth, we also focus as the family as a whole. So we also want to educate the adults as well, so we want to make sure that if there's any services for the parents, that we have that support as well. And as many know, there's not parental, but there's guardianship, so it could be a grandparent, an aunt, or an uncle that has guardianship of a child, so we want to make sure they have resources as well. You'll notice the next one is the build a community among the residents. By starting with the organizations, we get that pipeline going, and now we can approach the residents and stakeholders in the schools in regards to the PTA and getting them to come together. The next one would be to promote the 6 visions that Jacobsville has, and we're going to help with all of the work groups one way or another through education, once again, whether it's strictly on the youth and also for the family as a whole. And one of our big goals that we have, and a lot of people may not recognize the connection, but the very last one is by 2019, we're looking to have free Wi-Fi for Jacobsville. And some people, the connection is the schools, the EVSC, and also other schools heavily rely upon electronic communications. Otherwise, my son would probably get away with getting all Fs if it wasn't for going online and checking his scores and stuff. So we want to make sure that the residents in the neighborhood have that access. We also want to make sure that the businesses have access as well, so they can keep in contact and keep in touch. So that looks like the oddball goal, but it's actually one of the most important ones to keep us all connected. And we would like to model it actually off of Richmond, because they have Wi-Fi free available for downtown through their, I believe, Civic Center, but I don't know what they call it. So we would like to model it after that, to where we can have the access for everyone in Jacobsville. And I believe that's it. But as always, if you have any questions about anything with youth and education, or as the neighborhood as a whole, please contact me, and I'd be happy to answer. Thank you.
Next, we have Melissa Tynes, and she's a resident and Safety and Cleanliness Work Group Chair.
Hello. My name is Melissa Tynes, and like she said, I'm a resident. I chair the Safety and Cleanliness Work Group, and I'm the treasurer for the Neighborhood Association. And I was standing there looking at you guys and wondering if you were getting irritated that my baby was crying. And then I thought, you guys were all babies once, and someone snuggled you and made you stop crying. And the great thing is, someone along the way touched you in a way to where you are today, and you have passion towards our city. And that's what we want to do. Our neighbors have cried out for a safer and cleaner city. And so in our working group, we are putting in goals into play that are going to make the city look better, make the city, make our neighborhood more comfortable, make us feel at home. That way we have pride, and we want to continue to build up our area. We've used, how do you advance it? There you go. Okay. We have revitalized the Neighborhood Association. It's been around for a long time, but the members were getting older, and there was not as much new blood coming in to help breathe life into it. So we've revitalized that. We have officers, and we have the Neighborhood Association working together to address problems and situations in the neighborhood. We've also created a social media page that is bringing neighbors together to not only talk about grievances or ask questions, but it's distributing civics education that a lot of people didn't get when they were growing up as a child. They weren't taught how to be a good neighbor, and now they're reaching out for that education, and they're wanting to know how they can be better. So we're supplying information, passing on things that we see, so these people can try to do a better job and make our area better. We also have off-duty police officers patrolling to make the area police presence more known, and we are working to get neighborhood input on new litter signage and neighborhood watch signage. And by neighborhood watch, we don't mean a little group of people watching people's windows and looking for intruders. We're implementing a system to where the neighbors all feel empowered to watch each other, to where we communicate more readily and easily, to an extent where if we see something wrong, we feel like it is our job and we're doing a service by calling it in and reporting it and helping our neighbors out. So all these things we're doing to try to make the neighborhood feel better, more comfortable, to take our streets back from the people that are making it uncomfortable for us and make it our neighborhood again. So those are the things that we're trying to do in safety and cleanliness. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that kind of brings us to the Jacobsville Crime-Free Alliance. Echo Housing, with the Jacobsville Join-In Initiative, received a $600,000 grant at the end of 2013 from the Bureau of Justice to address crime in the Jacobsville neighborhood. We were tasked with 15 months of research and planning in that project. We really studied the neighborhood, brought together neighborhood partners and community resources, including our local law enforcement, to address the crime needs of Jacobsville. Through that, we identified 22 hot spots in the neighborhood where crime is occurring the most. And whenever I say hot spot, if you go back to that map, those are the hot spots, and those are census block areas where crime is occurring the most in Jacobsville. Right now, the top 3 crimes in the neighborhood include theft, battery, and narcotics. So with that, we have 21 months to implement our Jacobsville Crime-Free Alliance. We received approval on the project earlier this year, and we kicked it off in May. Those are pictures of some of the things that we have done so far. We had Jacobsville Join-In Day, and that was a neighborhood service day to show collective impact in the neighborhood. We had over 100 participants come in and do some type of project, from litter cleanups to pulling weeds to just celebrating each other at our parks, to raising funds for different organizations like the Humane Society that are within the neighborhood. And our estimated number of people that we reached that day was over 700, so that was quite an accomplishment for the first time out. We also have started the Citizens Academy in Jacobsville with nearly 50 people that had registered for that program, and we are hitting the home stretch with just a couple of weeks left in our 10-week lessons with them. We are working on crime-free multi-housing in Jacobsville. We talked a little bit about housing earlier and the different partners and people coming into the neighborhood to improve. One of the things that impressed me was a property management group that heard about all of the movement in Jacobsville and has come in and started purchasing rental properties to clean up and move some of the blighted areas out, and to remove some of the nuisance neighbors that have been there for years as mainstays in the neighborhood. And they've invested quite a lot, over 20 properties just by that one investment company. We also have leveraged, with the receipt of the $600,000, another $250,000 in-kind services and programming through the burn. And we are implementing 24 programs and projects in Jacobsville over the next 21 months. Some things that, when we talk about added investment and new investment in Jacobsville, a lot of things are happening that spurred from the movement that we don't take ownership or credit for necessarily. One of those investments is Jacobsville Park with the Eagle Scout Dane Hancock and what he achieved there. And the first photo is a before photo of the park. The middle is what he accomplished with his new playground equipment, and now I know that there's new picnic tables and trash receptacles as well. And then Echo's piece with the adjacent lots in their folly that will be coming in soon. Some other new investment, because of the movement for the crime-free stance in Jacobsville, we had an anonymous donor come forward this spring fairly quickly and said, hey, we have a commercial property Would you guys want to use that for maybe a community meeting space? Absolutely. So now we are the owners of the 118 and 120 Florida commercial building that sits on the corner of Heidelbach, which is nearby one of the hottest hot spots in the neighborhood where crime is occurring the most. So it's a good opportunity for us to come in and to fix up a property and then to have a presence with the neighborhood and everyone that's trying to make a difference in the neighborhood. Another investment that we've noticed in Jacobsville is the property, the old number 10 firehouse on East Columbia Street. And that's a private investor, and what he's done, the photo on the left is the before and the photo on the right is the after. We have a second old firehouse on Baker Avenue. Architectural renovators have come in and have done an outstanding job, even though it's not fully complete yet. And that's a photograph that I took just last week of the progress that they've made at that property. 2 properties located on North Main Street, the Lucky Lady and the Lovers Playground, have done facade improvements. And then another property on North Main, it's been several things throughout the year. It is now, or throughout the years, it's now Gala Cakes, and they've done facade improvements to that as well. Something that we've also noticed since we've started this movement of Jacobsville Join In since 2013, we've had 10 new businesses that have moved into Jacobsville, and that's a list of those businesses. One of the newest one is MS Companies, who is actually employment services for Toyota Bushiku. And one last thing before we go, I'm going to have Stephanie Timbarge with ECHO come up and just briefly talk about the Promise Zone designation for Jacobsville.
Well, first of all, I think you have to be impressed at the level of resident and stakeholder involvement that's going on in Jacobsville. I'm sure people really don't have any idea what's actually happening behind the scenes. But the last page in your packet is how we're leveraging what we've done. And I think you'll see that it's interesting. First of all, let me say thank you to the Council of 2011 for appropriating the $100,000, which we've leveraged to almost $2 million for Jacobsville. So money well spent, a really good investment. We've also, as Jennifer said, we leveraged that money for the burn grant, which was then leveraged for another $250,000. We leveraged what we're doing in Jacobsville. We got the only AHP award in the city of Evansville for $500,000 for the renovation of Lucas Place, which is another additional $1 million that I didn't speak of before. We're rehabbing an existing structure. What this means is what's happening in Jacobsville means big dollars potentially for not just our neighborhood but for the city. The Kresge Foundation has a fund called, or a grant called Strong Healthy Places, and their goal is to expand creative placemaking activities, and we are ripe to apply for this grant and will do so. But the biggest apple, if you want, on the tree is the Promise Zone designation. If you're not familiar with the Promise Zone, it is something that President Obama created, which is to designate a number of high-poverty urban communities where the federal government will partner with and invest in the communities to create jobs, leverage private investment, increase economic activity, expand educational opportunities, and reduce violent crime. Now, why does that work for us? Well, we've got 2 of the 4 things that are needed for the Promise Zone: a burn grant and a Sustainable Communities Regional Planning Grant. So that kind of puts us to the head of the line, or helps us. Indianapolis just recently got one in the last round of funding. They were gracious enough to share their application with us, so we have a pretty good idea of what works. We put together a team. There has to be a lead applicant, which will be ECHO Housing. You have to demonstrate the ability of the ECHO, or the lead agency, to do the goals and receive funding, and we have a long track record with government funding, so that won't be a problem. You have to partner with the city. They are partnering with us, and also the Evansville School Corporation. So we are putting together a Promise team, if you will, to go for this Promise application in the fall round. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means more than just Jacobsville, because you have to encompass, you literally map a zone, and it has to be at least 10,000 residents, but it can be up to 200,000. So what it means for Evansville, it could be huge. They are contiguous. You have to map it where everything is touching, and the poverty level has to be greater than 33%. So what happens is you map this area, they send you back the demographics, and that's what you decide you want to go for in your grant. So this could be huge, because to be a designated promise zone is a 10-year designation, which puts you at the forefront for 12 federal agencies, which is what you see at the top there. The Department of Transportation being only one, Department of Education, HUD, AmeriCorps. It could just be huge. So if you look at the bottom and you think about where we've come and where we're going and what we could leverage, again, I have to come back to the word transformational, not just for Jacobsville, but we could become a model city. And are we a model city? Absolutely. The state is looking at us. The state of Michigan is coming in to look at what we're doing and become a part of it. We have outside developers that see what's happening in Jacobsville and want to be a part, not just for Jacobsville, but they're looking at other big projects, new market tax credits for the city. It's almost overwhelming to me how this bit of leverage that we started out with could literally transform this neighborhood and this city. So thank you for your time and consideration, and I hope you appreciate everything that these folks have been working on in the past couple of years. Thank you.
And we are open to questions if anyone has any.
Any questions from council?
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Any other comments from the crowd? Wow. Thank you. Ah, great. My friend Don Knight. You're going to give us the historical perspective.
I don't want to get into that. I'm Don Neidig, 707 North Main Street for 65 years. And you're down, this isn't just about Jacobsville, guys. Downtown is only as strong as the neighborhoods around it, okay? You got Haney's Corner area going up. You got West Franklin Street going up. Now, let's put Jacobsville in the right perspective. That's all I got to say. I don't want to get into the history, but I got a lot of it. I was here in '63 at the old courthouse when they said put up the Civic Center here, and they had to have security then for all the people, because many are too young to remember. You could drive from Riverside Drive, Garvin Park, and go around and come right back. Those are good times. Thank you. Just
Thank
keep
you,
it
sir.
favorable.
Any other comments on this subject? Again, thank you so much for coming, and thank you for your continued wonderful efforts.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, is Assistant Chief Pugh here today to talk about the fireworks? Perhaps Officer Afifi would do? Oh, there we go. Great. Sorry, Chief, I didn't see it back there.
Earlier than I thought I was going to go.
What we're looking for is advice from you about how we can approach this well, hopefully you see it as a problem, but what suggestions you have that we could help and make this problem be more controllable.
I watched the council meeting 2 weeks ago, and from the department's perspective, we don't disagree with anything that was said. I mean, we see it as a problem also. The problem we see, big picture-wise, is the state's created this incredible industry with massive stores selling everything you can imagine to launch, and then they put these certain little restrictions. I mean, we compare it almost to the texting law. It's almost unenforceable what they want done, or what could be done, because of how much they allow to sell and how much is out there. Part of the problem, especially on the 4th of July, is if it's not the busiest night of the year that the police department has, it's right there with it. And a fireworks run, I checked with dispatch today to get some numbers. A fireworks run is a priority 4 run. It's the lowest priority run that the police department has. So I think that's part of the reason that people think we're not actually responded to them. A lot of times when it's just one run after one run, and if you listen to second, third shift, most nights during the hours that the fireworks are to be lit, I mean, they're running from one run to one run. And a lot of times what you'll hear the officers say is, put that as an extra patrol, I'll get by there when I can. And that's why a lot of times I think the residents think we're not paying any attention to the actual problem. We're getting there after it's over because it's not as high a priority in the dispatch code. So as far as things we think we can do, I mean, we think making the city ordinance more restrictive would help, but I mean, you still got the problem. There's so much of it out there, and people are still going to be shooting it. So to solve the problem, I think until they somehow limit, because 30 years ago, 40 years ago when I was a kid, your dad had to make a run to Tennessee just to have Black Cat fireworks or firecrackers. Right. And if you had a gross of bottle rockets, you were like the king. Now, I mean, that stuff's pretty tame to what's being able to, what the state allows to shoot off. So any questions you have, I mean, I'll try to answer them best I can.
How many ordinance tickets were actually written?
That I'll have to get you.
I mean, just anecdotally, I'm sure it's a very, very low number.
I bet you it's very few. We end up probably taking more of the fireworks and just disposing of them to solve the problem than the ordinance ticket being written.
It seems that's reactionary, and I think what you're saying, and I think that's really what Doc was saying last week, is we need to change at the state level. You know,
I think the only way
enhancing an ordinance that we're not enforcing really doesn't solve the problem.
I agree 100%. Yeah. Unless you get it, somehow the state gets it under control and limits what's able to be sold, there's nothing the ordinance or the state law is really going to do, because it's not unique to Evansville. I mean, this isn't an Evansville problem. I guarantee you, if you're going to Gary, Fort Wayne, or even Mount Vernon or places like that, Princeton, they've got a huge fireworks problem too. And I understand why the citizens are upset and concerned. I mean, I heard the guy talking about his little dog 2 weeks ago. I got a 14-year-old Jack Russell, and I think he's going to have a heart attack every 4th of July. He just trying to figure out somewhere to go. And it's not near as bad where I live as some of the the neighborhoods in the city where it's, the houses are sitting right on top of themselves, on each other too.
Yes, Dan.
Chief, there are some people that they don't have calendars or don't know how to use them. They totally ignore. If they're within a week of the starting date, they figure they're close enough. Now, in instances like that, would it help if the citizens who are offended, upset by all of this, if they would actually provide an address of the illegal fireworks to the police, to the dispatch? I mean,
if we had an exact address, the problem I notice at my house is you just don't know where they're coming from. I mean, unless they're actually being shot off right next to you, or you can see where they're being shot from. As much information as they're able to give to the dispatcher is always going to help the officer when he's trying to locate where it's from. One of the things we did is the 4th of July, and actually it was an email that you were involved in with one of the residents in your ward, was we did talk to the patrol lieutenants, and then they addressed the roll calls about, a fireworks run is a low priority run compared to everything else, but it is a concern to those that are being affected by it. Their animals are getting upset, they can't sleep, the stuff's landing in their pools, on their roofs, in their yards, and they're having to clean all that up. So make sure we make an effort to get out there and do what we can to try to alleviate the problem for them.
Well, a lady that I've spoken with several times each firework time, she does speak very highly of the police department. She has driven and found an address and called in the exact address, and has on numerous occasions had what she says is a very successful response. So, you guys have done some good stuff, even though it's overwhelming. I understand that. But I'll keep advising people if they do call that, if they can drive, if they can get the address, then you at least have a fighting chance.
We got somewhere we can at least knock on the door, and if you just get the 600 block of east whatever, it's hard to it's hard to figure out exactly where it's coming from, especially if it's coming from the backyard or something like that.
I think the people who are upset are going to have to do a little legwork in order to help you guys out. So I'll keep advising them of that and see if we can help you. Thanks.
I got a couple of questions. So does it hurt? I mean, I understand providing as much information as possible for people that are willing, but right now when they can go to 11:30, I mean, do you see an issue with reducing? The state would allow us to reduce that to roughly 10:30 at night. Is that? I mean, I understand the low priority of the run, but it can't hurt to list it to move it to 10:30, right?
Personally, I wish it was, I mean, this is from a personal I wish it was earlier that they would limit it on. But I think, and especially the 4th, and this year the 4th the 4th was a Saturday night, so when the 4th falls on a Friday or Saturday, it gets even worse because people usually don't have to work the next day, so they really get to, turn.
Well, that one, the state requires that we allow, I believe, till midnight. But the other nights, I mean, we're stuck with those 10 days, but the state law says 2 hours after sundown, which is roughly like 10:15. So I mean, I think people would feel better about an earlier end time, even though obviously it's a low priority. Would you agree with that?
I think so. And on the nights, I mean, summer nights are always busy, especially second shift, which is going to run roughly from 2 to 11, and then the shift changes are happening in those areas too. But that's by far the busiest shift run volume-wise, and that's kind of why the fireworks runs drop down so low, and some people think, well, they're not even showing up on them just because the other higher priorities, accidents, fights,
Oh, yeah. I mean,
things
we
like
can
that. Yeah,
see from your annual report that, I mean, most of the crimes like 3 p.m. to 3 a.m., so I get that second and third shift.
Yep, you can see a spike right there.
Okay, the second question is, from your experience when you talk to people related to the fireworks, would more information help? I mean, Councilwoman Mosby, I think we had a discussion last time about potentially requiring vendors within the city limits to post information about the dates and times. And when you do have officers hit a door, do people seem to have any concept of the ordinance? I know someone here, I guess, visited some fireworks stores, and there wasn't anything really posted about the rules. I mean, would it help, do you think, to make sure those were posted in stores?
I think, I believe it was the ordinance. I reread the state law and the ordinance today, but one of them does say, and I believe it's the ordinance says, that the rules are supposed to be posted, or the times and things. I mean, I think the problem with that is I could take this sheet and post them on and nobody's going to see it, and it may be where, and I'm just talking here, the vendor either hands out, with the sale, part of the thing is some type of pamphlet or something has to go, or it has to be, figure out how prominently we want it displayed inside where the fireworks are being sold. Because I would venture to guess most of the fireworks vendors post it, but it's like a lot of places. It's not going to be real visible, and it may be hard to see. Maybe if there is an ordinance change that it's designated exactly where it has to be posted in the business. And I don't see as many. It seemed like 10 years ago there was a fireworks stand with basically a cafeteria table and a tent on every corner. I don't see as many of those. You see more of the superstores, but where it would be consistent across the board. But some of the people will listen to it. It's like any law or rules.
Yeah.
The majority will pay attention, but some of them are just going to, hey, it's the 4th of July, and I'm shooting them till I don't have any more left.
Oh, sure. And then last question, we would have some discretion to knock out Labor Day, Veterans Day, Memorial Day. We currently allow those dates under our ordinance. We don't have to, though. Do you have any feelings about knocking out those 3 weekends?
Honestly, I don't see where it would hurt. I would like to get with dispatch and just see what kind of run numbers we have for those particular days, and see, offhand I wouldn't know how many runs we're even making or how big a problem it is on those days, and also what the availability is for people buying on those days too. But if you're interested, I can have dispatch run those numbers and get them to you.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have the same sales, I think, with Veterans Day and Labor Day. It may be sort of what you've got left over, you know, on those dates. But I also don't necessarily associate fireworks with sort of memorializing, you know, veterans and in those kind of things. We have veteran, you know, it's kind of a mixed bag. We have a lot of veterans complain about fireworks and not liking those noises, and you know, some probably are okay with it. But
I mean, I don't think you would get much opposition to that, really, but I'll get those numbers for you and get them emailed to you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments from City Council? Do you have any other insights or anything? Would anyone else like to? Young lady, would you like to join us and make a comment? Thank you, Chief.
Bernice Termenstein, 1636 East Blackford Avenue. I know that it's been addressed tonight about all the annoyance that it causes dogs and the people. I had a fella who was doing some work for me, and while he was working, he got a call from his daughter saying that some hoodlums had launched a bottle rocket on her roof and caught on fire, and she had $400 damage. And we also know, I heard that at St. Mary's Emergency Room, they treated 5 injuries due to firecrackers.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Again, I know I'm a minority on this group here, but there is laws in effect. There's a certain time. After that time, write them up. Once 11:30 comes, somebody's shooting at 11:30, they shouldn't be doing it. It's against the law. So if you want them posted on the stores like we do, I mean, personally, I'm not going to say what store it is, but the store that I help with, it's posted when you walk in the door, it's posted on the 500 grams, it's posted in the back, it shows the rules. We tell people the rules. And I think a good ordinance, and like I said, I'm kind of an anti-drinking person because I don't drink. I think every bar ought to have the rules that you're not allowed to drink and drive when you're there, and the rules. I think that should be a good ordinance there too. And, you know, while we're at it, when you have your beer stew downtown, I think everything ought to be posted there. You can't leave here unless when you've been drinking without a drug test or a drunk test or something. Maybe we should really enforce all these rules that the city wants to enforce on everything. So, you know, but I mean, fireworks, state of Indiana last year gave the state fire marshals an extra $2.9 million. Almost $3.5 million this year will be collected extra. We're not talking about the sales tax. That's up in the millions also. But the state fire marshal for safety and their groups, and our locals get it too, was $2.9 million last year. That was extra 5% on fireworks. People don't realize that there is an extra fireworks. Some people do not feel that Veterans Day is important, but I will shoot fireworks every year for the ones that I lost. And I will shoot red, white, and blue shells. I shot a Veterans Day. Nobody knew about it. We didn't make it public. There was probably 100 people at the church. It's in the county because I didn't want to do it in the city. But I shoot a red, white, and blue every year, show a fireworks show for veterans. Some veterans have a problem, but like I said, I have a problem with the planes flying over too. But I wouldn't take that away from Evansville for nothing in the world. So when you make these regulations and you do all this thing, I'm going to ask for a lot more regulations to be done on a lot of other things too, because I happen to like fireworks. In case you guys want to know, there was approximately 3,900 people visited the fireworks store, the one fireworks store that I work for. That's 3,900 votes you got to think about too. Thank you.
Well, certainly a colored opinion. Would you like to make a comment?
I just wanted to make a comment to Assistant Chief Pugh. I just want to commend you and your team for all that they've been doing. There's been a lot of things going on in Evansville for the last couple of weeks, but especially last Thursday, your team diffused that. It could have really been terrible. So I just want to thank you and your team for all that you're doing, and keep up the great work.
Let me ask, I apologize for not warning you ahead of time. Let me ask this body whether it is your will that I put together once again another resolution asking for home rule, and if we don't get home rule, specifying exactly what we want the state legislature to do. Send a rough draft to each one of you. Hammer out things that you think I've missed or things that you think you want there, and see if we can't, once again, like we did last year, send a resolution to the legislature and send a copy to the, what was it, the top 20 largest cities in town through the whole state. Because like it or not, whether you like regulations or not on fireworks, the demand for the public is there, from my point of view.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the feeling is about other municipalities around the state, but maybe work it the other way around and get with them and build a coalition and then put pressure on the state rather than, you know, Evansville's doing it and then Fort Wayne's doing it. Make it a group of...
Well, we did send a copy to the Association of City and Towns last year.
But bring it together first and then present it. Maybe
Yeah, we can do that. The question is, let me put it another way. Is there anybody that does not want me to do this? Okay? Yes, no? Got it? Super. Okay. Ms. Schuler, would you join us? Bob, you want to make your comments with her or after her? Or?
I'll follow her.
Great. She's a great act to follow.
Good evening. I'm Sarah Schuler with VPS Architecture, 528 Main Street. I'm very sorry I wasn't here 2 weeks ago. I was out of town, and I believe there's some questions that you may have concerning the development of the hotel project. And I'm going to do my best to answer your concerns or questions.
I guess my first question is, do you know what the initial bid was for the site development to prepare the, because that's on us, to prepare the site to build a hotel?
I do not know the dollar amount for the site preparations. At this point, from when the project is getting started, I'm not aware that there's been any cost out of this particular project. I think that came previously.
Do we anticipate any cost for the site development?
Yes, there will be cost for the development of the site.
Was that bid in the initial round that came in too high?
Okay, I'm struggling just a little bit with the question, only because when it comes to site development, there are things that are directly related to the building that will have to be done so that the site can support the building.
Correct.
Is there something very specific that you want me to address?
I think that's the problem, is nobody knows what that really means. The plan calls for the city to prepare a site that is ready to be built on, okay? And so if that means removing old pilings or whatever it may be, then that's on us. Now, I don't know if they can build around what was existing there or not, but certainly there was a cost associated with preparing the site to build upon. And that's on us. That's not on HCW. That's not on anything else. It's on the city to prepare that for them. What is the cost of that going to be, or what was that bid previously?
Okay, I don't know that standing right here. I will have to look it up, but you are correct. There is, whenever I look through the documents, there are provisions for amendments to the soil. We do know that there's foundations from previous structures there, so to get into that, there is a number there. Unfortunately, I don't know that number standing here today.
And then the other thing, the other major infrastructure project was the moving of the sewer to the southwest side of the property. I think last week it was indicated maybe $4 million. I've now heard $7 million. Is that the accurate number now? And that may run across two different properties, but
I think
the total project I think was recently at least bid on. I'm not sure if accepted or not.
Mike Levitsky, I'm the Deputy Director from the Water and Sewer Utility. That project was bid for $7 million. But as I stated in the last meeting, I do want to stress that's part of the Integrated Overflow Control Plan. I have some supporting documents if you would care to see them to reference the plan. We are very much into an adaptive management mode. So when there's opportunity to execute parts of the long-term plan, we are acting upon that. And this, to us, is an opportunity to meet another need for a long-term plan, which is to redirect some sewer, combine them into one location along Cherry Street, which was part of the plan that was submitted over 2 years ago, and to create a storage location there. So this location is part of that plan that was expected to be done in the year 2034 through 2036. It just,
So the thing is
we have an opportunity now.
It's moved up considerably.
It's adaptive management strategy
Into a plan that has yet to
long-term
be
save
approved,
the
though.
city some capital money, yes.
Has yet to be approved, though, correct? I mean, as
We are
far
still
as-
in negotiations, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Let me ask you something. There was a question that came up. I got the opportunity to go through the plans. Do you believe 2 elevators for 240 rooms in a convention hotel would be adequate enough to serve the public? There's 1 service elevator and 2 for 240 rooms. Mostly I've been in some of these convention hotels and been amazed for that. You're going to have a lot of activity going on there. And I do realize it's a 5-story structure, so it would make it a little quicker getting up and down, but I'm just asking your opinion as a professional. You think that's adequate enough?
Do I think it's enough? I can only tell you that when it comes to a building, the elevators, there's codes that let us know how many people can travel in these. And when you're trying to balance different project needs along with budget, because of the cost of an elevator, which is typically priced per stop, you have to be very conscious of how many you do put in. And I'm sure that it was a balance with the design needs and budget that they came to the decision of 2.
Also, I noticed with the facilities, facilities from the restaurant area to where you have to go to facilities is quite a journey. Normally, when I've been in these convention hotels, usually the facilities are close by, usually to your restaurants. And when you go down and look at that, you've got 4 stalls. This is the men's, by the way. 4 urinals, 2 stalls, and you could have 350 people right around the corner in the convention area. And then the ladies only have 8 stalls. It seems to be not adequate enough for the number of people who might be there. Do you feel that's adequate?
Again, I think that whenever they sized these, they were looking at the loading from the ballroom that you're referring to, or the convention area, as well as the restaurant. And there are calculations that are done, and I have to say it's adequate to handle a normal loading there. And I mean, we just have to trust the calculations.
Oh, I understand. One other thing, too. In the original design, did you have UV glass involved in that, in the specifications?
The glass
for energy-saving purposes?
Yeah, and the glass specification has not changed since the original.
So we're still going to have UV?
Yeah, it's actually a low-E glass with a coating on it, and it is, I actually looked at both sections at one time, and from the original bid to what is out on the streets now, and it's the exact same specification, all the way down to the color coding that's going on it.
Okay. Finally, it does look like we do indeed have what you call the HVAC systems will be indeed in the rooms. Because I stayed in one of these before. Now, don't get me wrong, it was a nice place I stayed, but it does have its share of noise. I may have it recorded to show it. It does put a lot of noise out. Would you agree with that?
There is noise associated with it, and it's probably the cycling of the noise that disturbs you more than a constant noise.
So mine was pretty constant. I stayed at Sheridan. I mean, it's a good hotel, don't get me wrong. I'm not taking anything back from that, but there indeed will be in the rooms. Okay, thanks.
Yes, they will be.
Can you tell me what other areas have been value engineered?
And you're saying since the original design?
Back into cost.
Okay. I will have to, I'm taking this directly from memory.
Obviously,
10 to 5 stories is one thing. We know
10
that.
to 5 stories,
The
exactly.
central air to the VTAX is another. What else?
Exactly. There were some amenities on the roof that were taken back down, rooftop bar and entertainment areas. The pool has, and it's still within the acceptable standards of Hilton, but going from indoor to outdoor. This is for HVAC reasons as well, so it impacts several systems. The number of rooms has been slightly reduced, but still meets the study requirements or the goals that have been set forward. The materials of the shell of the building have also been value engineered, going from a curtain wall system to more storefront systems where we do have window openings and then also punched openings, meaning that there are windows set within a wall rather than just being an engineered window wall. But the interior of the rooms remains the same as what was originally designed from the customer experience, with the exception that it's not full glass from wall to wall. There's windows in there as opposed to being full glass, but there's still considerable amount of window area within each room.
About the lighting.
I cannot totally speak to that. There probably has been some value engineering done to it, but I cannot speak to how much.
Originally, was this supposed to be like a silver LED designation? And will this have any designation of sort of green engineering or green?
For the LEED certification, no, I'm not aware of that, but I don't know that originally they had met the silver as well.
Are there any,
Did you have any more questions? Okay.
are there other questions?
I have one. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. Now, you were hired by the ERC in August of last year?
Yes.
Okay, so your service contract is $84,000. Is that capped?
I honestly can't speak to exactly what it is for. Whenever I started this, the idea is that I would go out on the job site and compare what was being built with the contract documents.
Okay.
So the idea is that we tried to quantify it by the number of visits and by some hours, so that we could go through the duration to oversee, to give some reassurance to the city, to you actually as well, that what was being built matched the documents. Since then, it has evolved a little bit, so whenever I say I don't believe that it was capped at a number, it's based on the hours that we use to review the documents.
Okay, maybe that you guys had you got initial approval perhaps for $84,000, and obviously if your services are still required when they hit that cap, the ERC would be free to approve additional dollars. And that's just for your labor. You get reimbursed for whatever is being mailed. I see a lot of mailing in the invoices. Is that correspondence with Hunt or with HCW or other vendors?
Yes, and you're probably also seeing some printing costs for documents.
Okay.
Whenever there are costs to actually print out the documents so that we can review them other than just in electronic format, that is a reimbursable cost.
Okay. And if somehow the hotel were not built, then you wouldn't be paid $84.
That's correct.
Okay. And do you sit on the Evansville Brownfield Corporation Board?
I do, yes.
Okay. Did you abstain on the vote related to the piece of property? I don't get the minutes.
I did.
Okay.
I did abstain. If there's anything that can even remotely be seen as a conflict of interest, I do remove myself from any vote, and that's with any project that I'm involved with.
We don't get the, I don't get the minutes.
Okay.
So I just knew that the Brownfields just recently purchased that last strip of land that was required for the parking garage from the Housing Authority for, I think, $55,000. And that's all I would know besides that.
But yes, you are correct. I did abstain from that vote.
Okay, and I'm going to ask you a question that perhaps Nick, I was interested in waivers, and Nick sent me an email. No waivers have been requested by HCW in connection with the DoubleTree brand standards. The only waiver that they currently anticipate is the second service elevator, and I think John has covered that. You're just at one. So are we back to actually having 24/7 doorman?
I don't know if that's a brand standard.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the brand standards are. I know that from...
It was just a prior waiver they had requested.
Right, and it may still come up. I can't speak to that with absolute certainty, but the way that this works is when they apply for the brand waiver, as they go through the review process, there may be more that Hilton may have to ask them to review and to apply for.
Okay.
And if you want to adjust that.
Yeah, the other thing I would add is when I received your email, I picked up the phone and called HCW and asked them where that stood. And it's a fairly lengthy process where I believe the designer, as well as Hilton, goes through page by page and through all the details. And at that point, nothing had come up, but they anticipated it would be that second service elevator. As soon as something else comes up, I'll keep you advised.
Okay, and so the drawings, I guess, have been done for a few weeks, and so does that trigger their ability to actually initiate their franchise application now that obviously Hilton wants to see the drawings? They probably, I wouldn't know what I was looking at, but they would. So does that mean that they've paid the fee and have applied?
Yes, to the best of my knowledge, that is all in the review process, but they did need the final bid documents to be able to...
Okay, and that part's not done yet? The final bid documents? Those are anticipated maybe next month?
Okay, the final bid documents are complete. That means that this has been turned over to Hunt Construction as, they are pricing the job and going through that final exercise. That is coming next month with the final pricing. Okay. That means that they are pricing all of the different portions, packages. They break it out into sub-packages and are working on getting that priced right now so that they can finalize their agreements sometime next month with HCW.
Okay, the development agreement, and I know this is a fluid deadline, but the anticipated closing for HCW on the real estate, I think, is the end of August.
Is it September?
Specifically, the document calls for a closing by September 4th.
Okay, but I know that can be adjusted. Do you anticipate that'll end up being adjusted? Because I think the closings can, like Old National's money is contingent on them, the pricing coming in, getting the franchise, and closing on the real estate.
Sure, yeah. O&B obviously isn't going to put its money into a project until they know it's there. So there are a number of moving pieces, and as with most closings of a fairly complicated matter, each aspect is generally contingent on the other. So we don't have a specific date yet, but it'll be within the next 5 weeks.
So, but it sounds like the only thing at this point that hasn't fallen into place, I understand that final pricing will come back next month, but we've all talked about the fact that Hunt's been involved now for a very long time and is apparently willing to sign a guarantee to provide that coverage for us where we have overrun responsibility in the development agreement. So the franchise approval is sort of that potential. If we feel pretty good about the pricing coming in, then it's really just the franchise approval.
Yeah, I'm not an expert in hotel franchising, but I think that's anticipated to be approved early part of August.
Okay, so maybe in the next few weeks we will have really a clear indication of whether it's good to go. And I think that's important. It's impressive I understand the amount of work that's been done and the amount of crap that you've taken along the way. I mean, I get it, but it is taxpayer money, and that's what drives a lot of the scrutiny. So I appreciate you coming and giving us the information.
And Nick, this is a funding question I need to ask. According to the last published audited financial statement by the State Board of Accounts, they've indicated the city had overpaid at ERA $3.6 million, which honestly came out of the TIF originally. This payment happened in July of 2012. It goes back to there. Now, my question is, do you foresee that money moved back into the TIF, which should be, according to State Board of Accounts, for funding, additional funding sources? Do you see that?
I have absolutely no way to know whether that would happen or not. I can follow up with Russ Lloyd and try to give you a good answer for that, but that is completely outside the scope of my activities here tonight.
I understand that. Well, if you can find that out for me, because Russ is not in the, I didn't see Russ, so you're the got to go to.
Any other questions from members of council about this project? Any comments from the crowd? I'm sorry, excuse me. Bob, would you, Mr. Warren, would you come up and give us your thoughts, please? Thank you. Sure.
Thank you very much. I'm Bob Warren, Executive Director of the Evansville Convention and Visitors Bureau, and our organization has been involved in this hotel process now for about 3 years. We have provided all of the information that has been requested by our office. We are obviously the sales and marketing arm behind this new hotel. What we do know is our organization supports a new hotel. We support 240 rooms. As I passed out a little bit earlier some information that I think is very important. This is one of the tools that we use in determining the success or failure of our industry. And I'd like to just walk you through a couple of pages of it, if I will. This comes from 2 different weekly documents. But to just give you an example, if I can go to page 3, which is the first one highlighted, what you're going to see is Jehovah Witness Weekend, where we actually ran a Thursday, Friday, Saturday of 92%, 96%, 93%. The following weekend, the weekend of June 18th, 19th, and 20th, 93%, 94.8%, 90.9%. The following weekend, Shriner Fest weekend, and we also had a game day ball tournament out at the new ball fields. We ran 88.2%, 93.1%. 4th of July, actually considerably slower for our organization and industry. We only ran 62.1% and 66.7%. If I get you to go to the next page, and then I'm just going to move past the 4th of July because this is a joint document. The following weekend, we had the IASA Diamonds of the South ball tournament out at our new complex. We ran 85.1% and 90.2%. Those are excellent numbers for our industry. And it's, I think you're going to see by the next weekend, we had an NSA BPA heat tournament, and we had 63 tournament teams out there, and we generated 82.7% and 93.3%. The message I'm trying to send here is that when we start getting up into that 90-95% range in terms of occupancy for our destination, we find ourselves in a position where we probably have fewer than 190 to 200 rooms left in our inventory of rooms. We're hoping that we can continue to develop through the meetings market to continue to grow our industry. The ball fields were not a burden on this council or the city. We have $14 million in construction on that project. This hotel we have been selling for a year and a half. We are out there in the marketplace constantly promoting and selling. Now, this past week we had ISAE, first time ever in Evansville. They're the Indiana Society of Association Executives, the very association that represents all of the associations in the state of Indiana. They loved our product. They were here. We had a very successful meeting with them. I brought something that whenever I talk to you guys, I seem to be talking in history because of the lengthy experience I've had in this industry. This is my hometown, and this that you're about to see, and I just thought I would share with you an image. There's only one person in this room who will know what this is, and it's Dr. Adams. This is the University of Texas Medical Branch, like the IU Med Center. This was founded in 1891. It started off with 23 students and 13 faculty members. Today, this same building is 70 buildings. It represents 2,300 students and over 1,000 faculty. The one thing that this group had that it was very important to our process here is that they had a full department that did nothing but meetings and conventions. One of the most prestigious meetings I've ever done in my entire career was the International Association of University Surgeons. I'm sure Dr. Adams has probably heard of that. Most prestigious group we've ever had. We have done the numbers on this hotel. I've repeated them to you before and before. We know that from an occupancy and ADR standpoint, this hotel would generate an estimated $6.2 million in room revenue. That room revenue is going to be spent on debt service, operations, employees. That's a great figure to have, $6.2 million. The other factor that's probably equally or more important is the money that is going to flow through our community in goods and services. There's a very basic formula that you use to calculate that. Ladies and gentlemen, that number is about $7 to $7.5 million a year that is going to flow directly into our businesses and indirectly into the businesses that support that. It's not just attractions and museums and restaurants. It's banks and insurance companies and accounting firms and suppliers to the industry. This is big business for us. And we're already, with this date approaching, we're already a year behind on this hotel. So what we can say to the public is that we have lost $13.7 million over the past year because we've got a year delay in this process. And if we wait further, we can just keep multiplying that number. But this is money that would be flowing into the businesses of our community. It helps support our industry. And our industry is a $560 million industry that has over 6,400 employees in it. We understand what you're doing in terms of due diligence. Our board supports this hotel. We would really like to see this hotel move forward, and I'll be delighted to answer any questions that you have. I've got all sorts of facts and figures.
Bob, I need to ask you something. Has the bonds, since we kind of moved this along fast, have the bonds been rated yet?
I don't know that they have.
And can we find that out? And when will they be sold? Do you know? When are they going to go to market?
Are we talking about which
We're talking about
bonds?
the financing because we got to have the money to move this forward.
No, I mean the hotel. I mean that's the city's responsibility. I think what you have from us, you have a $2 million commitment from us that is over and above the $20 million, and you have another $1.5 million from the county. So just so that I can reinforce, our board voted to support a $2 million investment for ancillary buildings, walkovers, and upgrades to the convention center. Our board did not vote to provide direct funding to the hotel project.
Well, I just think, can you answer that for me, Nick?
The bond rating is being updated.
They're being updated?
Yeah.
And but obviously we haven't sold them yet because they're being upgraded. Do we know who's going to handle the bonds?
I think Fifth Third.
Fifth Third's going to be doing them?
Yeah, I think that's the underwriter. Yeah.
Gonna be
If
doing
I'm
them?
wrong, I'll tell you.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, I guess in closing, Councilman Friend, is I think if we look at what the cost of the bond issuance is going to be, I know we just did a bond issuance for 23 years for $14 million to build a new ballpark. We know what that annual debt service is, you know, but when we look at what a 20 million cost or what 21 or 25 million cost, if you do it cost per million, I think that figure is considerably lower than what we would be spending or losing by not having a hotel. That $13.7 million is real money.
Can I just say, I'm just looking at these numbers. It says census properties 23. Is that an increase or decrease from the previous year? Because you're comparing them year over year, and
they're comparisons year over year. Yes.
Yeah, but the census properties is not. It just says there's 23 reporting, and there's 2,381 rooms.
Well, we did have a loss of hotels. We had the Clarion that closed, and that was a 200-room inventory that came out of our supply. We are building some new hotels.
So if you had, I mean, that's a denominator issue. So if you had the same number of, and I'm just percentage-wise, if you had 1,000 people and you had, well, let's just say 2,000 people and you had 2,500 rooms, that's 80%. But if it's now 2,300 rooms, you had 2,000 people, it's now 86%.
Yeah, that
right?
would be correct, yes, sir.
Okay, so you're going to get this natural rise in the number of percent because you have a reduction in inventory.
That would be correct, yes, sir.
Okay.
Bob, one other question, too. I think the Hunter report, though, I get this great project. Hunter report, though, indicated that I believe 70% of the business in a downtown hotel is going to come from existing business, from existing structures.
That's not correct, Mr. Friend.
That's not correct?
I don't want to. I think the body of work that Rob Hunden did was a good body of work. I absolutely think that the body of work that he did was understated because of this, the new med center. And when you look at the body of work that was produced for him, and I'm going to give you my resume for a second. Okay, when Rob Hunden first got into this industry, I was working on a $55 million project, which is a convention center expansion with his boss, Charlie Johnson, with C.H. Johnson and Associates. So I've been working with these types of numbers for years. I think Mr. Hunden's gave a very good body of work. I do believe that his numbers are understated. I would think that number, in my opinion, is probably closer to 30% rather than 70%.
If we pay $219,000 for that report, though, keep that in mind.
Well, you know, you could have asked me for that report, and it wouldn't have cost you a dime.
Any other questions? Yeah. Okay, so, I mean, Connor's already made the point that as you do this comparative analysis to us of this year versus last year, you've got less hotel rooms, so obviously that dries up your occupancy rate. And some of these weekends that you've isolated as demonstrating need for rooms, we actually did better last year under that same weekend. So, for example, you've highlighted July 17th and 18th. We actually had a higher occupancy rate with more hotel rooms a year ago and significantly more revenue. So, I mean, I think this is, you know, when you drill down into your occupancy report that you've given us, it's...
We could certainly sit here and talk about the occupancy report, like Jehovah's Witnesses, an example. That's a perfect example. They met in July last year. They met in June this year. So you're going to see a significant difference because they generally take up about 50% of our occupancy. It's a $3 million piece of business, and Jehovah's Witness is asking us for more rooms that we can't provide them. So, you know, this is one of those challenges that we have as an industry. Anytime, you know, the 200-room deficit that we have with the Clarion is just testing our industry. The rooms that you see in that report represent about 2/3 of the total rooms reporting to the Smith Travel Report. So there's about 3,300 rooms in our total inventory, and the only way you can judge that is by our tax collections. Our tax collections last month were up 14.5%. You know, so a lot of times this is a tool that we use to monitor how we did over prior year. Prior year, it is the measurement that our industry comes to us with every year, and they review these documents, and we understand the census, and we understand the difference in supply and demand of those rooms. But I don't know if I'm answering your question, but we know that we can add, and I have a challenge that I would make with the amount of new business versus old business. We did, when we had the old executive, from 2006, and I've reported this to you before in public hearings, from 2006 to 2009, when we closed the executive, we had 72 conferences on the books. From 2006 to 2009, only 13 of the 72 conferences displaced to other hotels. The rest of them, 59 of them, are lost. There are 59 conventions and meetings and conferences that we have to go out and start recruiting again. And so that's why the challenge of this 240-room hotel, we're outselling it. And we see that these numbers are, for the most part, new business, or business that we are bringing back to Evansville, not lost business. And that number's $6.2 million a year in room revenue, $7.5 million in goods and services.
Bob, my other question I had to ask you. Do you have any numbers on the impact, the possibilities, since we went land-based casinos, that the Trop may be considering another tower, and what kind of impact would that have on this hotel?
I think the Tropicana serves to do a lot of meeting business. It is the true overflow hotel for us, unless we're working with religious groups. Religious groups will not go to the Tropicana. We have to displace, we're going to be going after that 200 to 250 room business. That is the largest percentage of the conventions market. There are a lot of conventions, like the International Society of University Surgeons, that was probably 700 people plus spouses. So those are out there, and we can go after them, but they're the smaller percentage of the overall convention business. Tropicana, moving land-based, they're doing 1 million visitors a year. I think probably if I were Tropicana, I would be really interested in this hotel being built, because if 15-20% of that population visits the casino, they have just increased their volume by 17,000 to 18,000 people a year.
Do you suspect, though, that they're going to do some improvements on the event center, is my understanding? Do you think that's an adequate amount of money to get it up to the levels that a lot of the conventions are demanding these days?
They do a reasonable amount of convention business now, because there's only 2 facilities really in the city where we can occupy a larger scale meeting. If we're not using the Old National Events Plaza with 280,000 square foot, then the 2 hotels that stand out are Tropicana and the Holiday Inn North. Those are the only 2 that have sizable meeting space to accommodate meetings.
Can I ask you, what are your assumptions to get to that $6.2 million number? What's the cost of a room per night?
Well, according to what we've been told, they're using $110 ADR, 65% annualized occupancy. You've got 240 rooms times 365 times 65%. Times $110 ADR, that should be 6.2.
Okay, so if you use 6.2 million, divide that through by $110 a night ADR, it's 56,000 room nights, and you divide that through by
56,000. That's correct. Yes.
365 days. That's 154 room nights every single day of the year, right? And that's new organic business, or is that
I think the majority of that, I think 70% of that's new business.
Bob, one of the other thing, too, that I remember studying that Hunter report pretty closely. They said that the average convention probably only have, and this comes from the report, will only be about 100 people. That's what the report indicated. I mean, do you disagree with that?
I personally disagree with that. I mean, if we are going to target organizations that have meetings that are 200 to 250, there are a ton of those meetings out here. I'm not sure where Mr. Huntington got that information, and I respect his work. He learned from one of the best guys in the business, Charlie Johnson, so I have to respect his work. But I know what our market is here in Indiana, and I've just met with ISAE, and actually we had about 160 people with that organization. So I can't speak to where Mr. Huntington got his information, and I'm not going to embarrass Mr. Huntington by attempting to do so.
Yeah. Well, I guess that my concern from the standpoint of the events plaza is that they do a lot of weddings, they do a lot of things over there now, because it is a large place. But it appears that in the prospectus, that, I mean, in the pro formas that they were being ran on the hotel, that they had to try to grab a hold of that business. And if you have a lot of business that you lose over there because it's more likely the weddings are going to go back to the hotel, my concern is the net difference between the conventions that they have, that it's a net number. Okay. That doesn't increase the revenue. This is just what I felt.
That's an argument that you can have. Let me throw something else at you. Look, we just built a $16.5 million ball field complex that is servicing almost all of our East End and North hotels. That we anticipate 180 to 200,000 new visitors in our community based on that project. This convention center hotel will not get any of that business. You know, so I mean, it's I think we're trading dollars here for what we believe are what should be new business.
And one more. I just I think what I heard John say was that this hotel is going to have about 14,000 square foot of meeting space itself. And I think we've all anticipated up to this point that was frankly a trade-off to the developer, and that he's going to siphon off a lot of the small business that, you know, for people that are having a wedding reception at the center, they're now going to move that to this hotel, and that those small, well, whatever would take 14,000 square feet or less. And so I think that's what I heard you say when you talk about net, is that, I mean, I think some of, and look, I mean, it's, you know, the ship has sailed, but is the center really any better off when it loses its small business? Of course, you disagree with Rob Hunden. I mean, Rob's point was that only about 30% of the new hotel's business is going to be convention business.
And again, I apologize for challenging Rob Hunden.
Throws that all off.
You know, this is another body of work that I gave this community, or gave this council, when we were asked to do an analysis of convention center hotels and their meeting space. We could not find a convention center hotel that lacked meeting space. And I have the summary of that document in my office and would be glad to provide it, and it'll give you the square footage and the number of meeting space by square foot that these various convention center hotels have.
Yeah, like you said, Bob, I think the report only said between 12 to 30 conventions would be a sellout. I think that's what the report said. That's one.
We know we've lost 59 groups here.
So over 4 years, though.
Over 4 years.
That's 15 a year, right?
Yeah, over 4 years, correct. Mm-hmm. When I left Galveston, Texas, we just built a new 55,000 square foot addition to our convention center. We had 19 citywide conventions on the books. You know, so that, I mean, this is a business of selling. You know, and you cannot compete. The thing that you can't do is that $7.5 million that's going to flow into the businesses of this community. That's an argument. The $6.5 million is going to be spent on lodging. You know, that's going to go to debt service and operations and paying taxes. You know, we're going to get about $500,000 out of that number to support our projects, whether it be marketing and promotion or what we're going to do with future development of things like our park and the zoo and other things that we make investments into. I've taken a lot of your time, and I told you I would be brief.
No, You've been very kind to be here. I just want to take us back. Just one little statement you made. I share your zeal for this project, but this particular body has not caused the delay for the year.
I didn't indicate
well,
that. Yeah.
you made the comment
Yeah,
that
okay.
this project's been delayed for a year, but this body did not cause that delay. And I think part of the problem is this continued delay. I'm kind of a fish or cut bait guy, and I think it's time to fish. And so I think I would like to see dirt fly. This prolonged waiting that we applied so many years ago needs to happen. And once it gets going, once the momentum is there, once we see steel in the sky, then it's a done deal. But as long as it's out there, sort of as a ethereal vapor, I think we're still having questions. And so the proof of the pudding of all the projections that we've talked about tonight will be where it is 3 to 4 or 5 years from now.
And may I close with one comment? And
Sure.
that's when you're looking at this convention center hotel, you are absolutely right. It's not anybody's fault, but the delay will continue to cost us money. And I think that's relevant. If we wait another year, that number's not $7 million in direct expenditures, it's $14 million in direct expenditures. And so, we certainly encourage moving forward on this project. We are selling the hotel right now, but we can't get anybody to really buy it because we haven't broken ground. I've got General Baptist standing in the wings. We've got other meetings. We've been going to travel trade shows, selling the hotel. But what they're telling us is when you break ground and we know that there's a completion date, you come see us.
Well, there's no question that, when you threw out that 240 rooms years ago, I have to admit, I went and got independent backing from outside the city, and you're right, you need the 250 beds for the kind of conventions you go. Once we got that med school downtown, that was the game changer for me. And from my point of view, we just need to get this built.
Amen. Got to get it built.
It's not the Cadillac that we talked about, but you know what?
It's 240 rooms that we need in our
There we go.
market.
Okay. Any other questions, any other statements?
Question.
Great.
Thank you very
so
much.
Okay, we have one scheduled last one. Keith Vandefar, the city's attorney's office, will like to come forth and discuss civil rights cases and update that for us.
Good evening, Keith Vonderay, one of the city attorneys.
Thank you for being so patient.
Oh, no problem. I think about 4 or 5 meetings ago, there was a question about the number of civil rights lawsuits here in the city. And then I believe 2 weeks ago, the question was brought up again. I was asked to come here and give that information. So that's what I'm here to report on this evening. First off, the question that I was told was asked 2 weeks ago was, do we have 5 pending civil rights actions against the police department in the city? We do not. We have 7. Okay? Now, let me put that in perspective to you this way. Okay? From 2012, January 1 of 2012 to December 31 of 2014, there were 18,569 arrests in the city of Evansville. In that 3-year time period, there were only 3 cases brought against the police department. So that's less than 1/10,000%. So I think that's a pretty good average. So that's 3 of the 7 cases. The other 4 cases were incidents that occurred in 2009, 10, and 2 of them in 11. And those occurred, and at least one of them is being handled by the prior legal department for the city, because that case has been pending for so long. And that's the number of cases that we have. Questions?
I read in the newspaper, tell me what the landscape looks like related to just tort claims. I noticed, and it's very unfortunate what happened to the jogger that was hit by the drunk driver at Fulton on the Greenway. I mean, I think the Greenway claim probably interested some of us as we intend to build a tremendous amount more of greenway-type linear parks. So what's going on with those? Do you have, because obviously that's a potential, although I think that's a capped type of lawsuit. Where are you at on just civil in general?
I can speak to you in a general sense. I will know more numbers when the audit for 2014 is requested by the State Board of Accounts. That hasn't happened yet. As you're aware, maybe the other council members are not, a tort claim is just a letter that a claimant sends to the city or municipality to put us on notice that we might be sued. The claimant has 6 months from the date of the injury to do that. So, and quite frankly, most of those are not against the police department, which is what I was here to speak about tonight. The majority of those come in the winter months because there's a theory that if there's a pothole and you hit a pothole, that the city pays for it. I can give you numbers of active tort claims if council wants those.
Well, I'm just interested because you kind of get to wear two hats in that we have a third-party administrator in the AWS that processes all of the workers' comp, unemployment, and slip and fall type pieces that your firm has that work as well as the city. So I just was curious, you don't know those, and I know you're $205, and I don't think on the spot. I just was curious because we all saw the tort claim that was... We all saw the tort claim just because it ran in the newspaper and sort of the horrible injuries that occurred with the doctor. So that's the only reason I asked was because that's what kind of liability was out there and because you also have the JWAF work.
Understand. Any other questions from council?
Great. Thank you so much for
Thank you very much.
clearing that up for us.
Have a good
Appreciate
evening.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak tonight on any subject? Okay. Sorry? Well, we're not quite there. My colleague to my left, Councilman Daniels, asked me to talk about a subject. I think I'd let him talk about it because he was the wise one that reminded me to talk about it.
Well, we've got, before our next meeting, we'll have National Night Out. It's the first Tuesday in August. I guess it's the 4th, if I'm not mistaken. So that'll be at Westman Park again, and encourage everybody to get out and support the people who make this city great.
It's a great night.
Connor mentioned a shuttle service from the old stadium lawn.
And we've been informed that there will be a shuttle service from the old stadium lot to get folks there, because otherwise you'll be walking across the golf course, and parking's a mess there sometimes, isn't it? Okay. Committee reports. Public Works Committee, Chairman Lindsay.
Yes, we'll be listening to Ordinance G 2015-20 at approximately 5:20, and it's about amending the fluoridation standards for the city water supply in the city of Evansville, Indiana.
Finance Committee, Chairman O'Daniel.
Yes, and at 5:25 we'll hear Ordinance F 2015-11, which is again moving money around within city funds.
AST Committee, Chairwoman Brincroft Riley.
Nothing scheduled at this time.
Is there a motion to adjourn? All those in favor? So be it.
You steer. Okay, we usually have always a person here, the quartermaster, that is steering under my orders.
and he's mainly staying here.
This?
If you wanna,
This?
yes, this
It's
is
so
a small
small.
one. Yes.
I would expect
You can try it. I
big-
mean, we are parking, so nothing is gonna happen.
You sure you want me to stay?
No problem.
Oh, this
Yes,
steers
yes.
this entire ship? This
Yes,
little...
yes, yes.
I mean, because in my head, as a regular person, I kind of think of like one of these
Yeah,
big,
but in the old days,
old-fashioned-
small ship had a big wheel. Now we have a big ship with a small wheel.
I then find my way to the captain's seat, where he and the navigators keep a lookout for boats and land on the horizon. When docking the boats, the captain keeps a close eye on all of his instruments that tell him his proximity to the shore. Now that I know who is safely steering the ship, I'm going to sit back and relax with my family for some fun in the sun. Where's the best place to catch some rays and cool off? At the pool. The pool deck on a cruise ship tends to get busier as the day goes on. A great tip is to arrive early and locate a home base, which can also be used as a meeting point with family members throughout the day. Since many cruise lines don't have lifeguards on duty, I recommend hopping in the pool with the kids and having fun. After a fun day at the pool, it's time to get some grub. Cruises are known for the endless and wide variety of food options. While the meals in the ship's dining room and buffets are included in the cost, many cruise lines are adding alternative dining options for an additional fee. Cruising can offer a lot of bang for your buck, but don't forget to factor in extra costs, such as tipping. Food lines on a cruise can be long. Dine early or late for less crowds. Another tip is to divide and conquer. One parent can find the table with the kids, while the other is getting the food. Did you ever wonder how such a big ship can move in the water? Or how the mechanics of the ship function? We'll meet the chief engineer to get all of our questions answered.
All right, so we had some kids' questions, right? What did you want to ask the chief engineer?
Being this big shoebox is quite fast, actually, faster than we think. The maximum speed is 23.5 knots. 1 knot is 1 nautical mile per hour. You could actually do water ski behind the ship. With this speed,
Should we
yes.
try that?
With this speed.
Yeah, right. So that's pretty
Not
fast,
right,
though.
yeah.
Okay. And I think we got some more. Let's see, Shay had one, right, Shay?
Shoot.
How long is the ship?
Is 298 meters long, which are approximately 1,000 feet. And is 15-story high outside of the water.
15 stories high?
Yeah.
That's
a
bigger
lot.
than I thought. Okay.
That's
Is that big?
Considering up to the top of the chimney of the funnel, yes.
I know what it takes to fill up a car, but like how much fuel does this ship take?
At regular speed, we will consume about 10 tons of fuel per
10
hour.
tons? I can't even fathom 10 tons.
8 to 10 tons, let's say.
How many propellers are there?
We have actually 8 propellers. 2 are main propellers for the propulsion, the bigger one. And then we have 6 side propellers, which are called bow thrusters and stem thrusters.
Thanks again, Mr. Engineer. Now it's time to play. Off to find the slides. Many cruises offer water fun. We found unique slides, including a twister and even one like a drain pipe. Did you know that you can teach your kids science while enjoying a water slide? Well, you can. Newton's law of motion states that an object in motion will stay in motion until something pushes or pulls on it. So, one of the main factors slowing you down on the slides is the friction from your bathing suit. If you want to go fast, make sure you wear a slick bathing suit. The girls and I really had fun on the slides with Uncle Dick. He was a good sport and went down with us a few times. I think that's what family vacations are all about. Just being silly together and having fun. The family is focused on being with each other and having a great time. Ever wonder how they prepare all this food? We're about to get a lesson from the chef himself. Our family had a chance to learn how this ship stays efficient in the kitchen. A chef and his kitchen staff in any restaurant have a difficult task. But on a cruise ship, the heat is on. A ship like this can feed up to 4,500 guests plus staff in an evening. It's up to the chef and kitchen staff to come up with creative ways to cut down the prep time for each dish. Another obstacle the kitchen staff faces is the no flame policy. For safety reasons, cruise kitchens can't allow open flames. Therefore, recipes have to be adaptable to an induction heat source. Most cruise lines prepare complex recipes, but they're able to accommodate guest needs and special requests. My girls had the opportunity to create a dish the cruise way.
Okay, guys, we are going to do a shrimp cocktail today. And it's also very popular with the guests.
The slicing of food, like in the appetizer dish we are about to prepare, was all done in a separate room, then was brought to the kitchen for assembly. The shrimp cocktail consists of 3 shrimp that need to be laid at an angle, followed by a handful of lettuce, a few slices of radish, a carrot shaving, chive, and to top it off, lemon. For added flavor, we will of course need some cocktail sauce.
Oh, it's so pretty. Wow.
That's the way we do it because we just separate the sauce from the shrimps because some of the time the guest doesn't want the sauce. And we are doing around 600 portions every time.
600 of
600
these?
portions, yeah. So
Wow. Yeah, all individually done.
individually done.
So do you need all the help you can get then?
Yeah.
Because there's 2 workers
Are
right
you
here.
volunteering? Now that we know how to do it, it's time for the girls to give it a try.
3 slices, 3 slices. That's it.
Wow.
Another exciting thing about cruising is that you can explore other cities and cultures. The majority of the passengers on board visit the port of call. Try to beat the crowds by getting up early to disembark. And don't wait for the very last minute to reboard, because you'll need to go through a security check that could take some time. We reached our port of call, the beautiful island of Grand Turk. It's a gorgeous day, so let's go explore. Grand Turk is the capital of the Turk and Caicos Islands, and it is located 575 miles southeast of Miami, Florida, and 30 miles south of the Bahamas. This English-speaking island is an overseas territory of the United Kingdom. It is approximately 7 miles long and 1.5 miles wide. About 4,500 people inhabit the island. Coburn Town is the centerpiece of the island with several historical buildings and an unforgettable rustic charm. Here, you'll find many Bermudian and colonial-style buildings. The weather in Turks and Caicos is consistently beautiful, with temperatures in the mid-80s year-round. Grand Turk has 350 days of sunshine. One of the most popular destinations right off the ship is the beach. The soft sand is a perfect spot for families to relax and play for the day. Kids love splashing in the clear blue turquoise water. All beaches are open to the public and are free of charge. Let's start off our exploration of the island with some smooth kayaking. This excursion is a great way to enjoy the natural beauty of Grand Turk.
I'm going to also be giving you some instructions about kayaking around here. Is there anybody first time we're going to be doing some kayaking?
Yeah.
Your first time? Oh, no problem. This is my second time.
Oh, really?
My first time was on the Nintendo Wii.
Oh, really? Okay.
Just joking around. I've been kayaking for a while around here. Your hands must be 15 or 16 inches apart in the middle. So that's going to cut right through the water. But if you hold it like this, you can dip that water, pull it, and throw it back.
Oh, I see.
It's going to be
Turn
real
it this
good.
way so
Yeah.
you push away the water.
You have to hold it
Okay.
good. And you can jug that water. You can't hurt it.
Okay. Are you smiling? Okay.
That's your kayak faces. That's good. But around here is 2 people per kayak, heavier in the front and the lighter person behind.